In this brief tutorial, I will give you some tips and hints on how to draw a three-dimensional hand that we can use to print out in our 3D printer. We're going to keep this fairly simple. You don't want to complicate things. So I would like you to start by doing the following. When you open SketchUp, choose View, Tool Palette, and Large Tool Set. If that's not turned on, it will open up this tool palette for you. I would also like you to go to View, customize your toolbar, and drag the standard views up onto your toolbar. They will be very useful. So now to begin, what I'm going to do is draw a shape to represent the palm of my hand. And I'm going to keep this, as I said, quite simple. There's the palm of my hand. If you want to make a somewhat more complex shape, you can. For example, we can take the line tool and you can draw whatever shape you see fit to represent the palm of your hand. The next step is going to be the same either way. I'm going to look at this from a top view, and there is my two shapes. I can see that I drew my palm a little bit distorted, but again, I'm going to delete this one, and I'm going to focus on my square hand. So what I'm going to do here first is choose the offset tool, offset my hand, and then I'm going to push-pull it. I'm going to go back to my isometric view, push-pull it into 3 dimensions. Now at any point in time I can scale my object by selecting it, choosing scale. So I'm going to square it up just a little bit. So there's what we have for the palm of my hand. Now from this view I'm going to flip again back to my top view, use my pan tool to create one little component here, which is going to be one of the sections of my finger. And I'm going to have 4 fingers, and each one will have 3 sections. But I'm going to draw one section first the way I want it, and then I'll simply duplicate that. So I'm going to give that some height by using my push-pull tool, take my pencil tool, zoom in either with the wheel on your mouse, or you can zoom in with the zoom tool. Again, take my pencil, and you'll notice when I move my pencil around the edge, it snaps to various features, midpoints, endpoints, edges. I'm going to draw a line from midpoint to midpoint. I'm going to select that line, and I'm going to lift it straight up. And if I spin that around, you'll see what my finger is going to look like. Now I want my finger to be approximately the same height as my palm, so I'm just going to move it down a little bit. And the reason we have these angles on here is because when you bend your finger, if this was a square, the square components would bump into each other. So back to my top view, pan over. I'm going to select that component of the finger, and I'm going to move it. But before I move it, I'm going to hold down the Option key. Notice I'm moving it directly up the green axis, and I can do that again. So there we have the 3 parts of a finger. Now again, from my top view, I'm going to select all of those, and I'm going to do the same thing, move, holding down my Option key. And there I have all the pieces of my hand. Center those, and I'll spin that around. And there we have a hand and some finger pieces. Okay, back to my top view. I'm going to take 2 of these. I'm going to do the same thing, move, but this time again, hold down my Option key. And now I'm going to rotate these same pieces. So I'm going to leave them there, choose Rotate. Don't click on the pieces because you'll see when you click on an angled surface, your protractor changes angles. I don't want to spin these on an angle, I just want to spin them on an angle. Now, for the purposes of this, I'm probably going to just put them sideways and move them down and move them across. Now, there essentially is my hand. Fingers, palm, thumb pieces, and notice there's only 2 components of our thumb rather than 3. Now, for printing purposes, I don't need this sticking out to the side because these are all going to be separate pieces when we're done printing anyway. So I'm going to just hit Apple Z and undo my rotate. Now, I rotated it to show you how it is done, but I'm just going to move these in beside right here. That way, when I try to print this model, it will print in one square unit rather than taking up extra space on the printer. That may allow us to print multiple copies at a time. All right, so we're not done yet. There are a couple more things I do need to do, and that is to cut holes through these component pieces because I need strings running through these to help pull and flex my pieces. So what I'm going to do again is take the hand, 3 clicks, and I can see now that when I have this created, I do need to stretch it back a little bit wider to accommodate all of my finger pieces. Back to my top view, and I'm going to move it just a little bit. So what I have done here is lined it up so I can drill a hole all the way through, straight through the hand and straight through the fingers. And I'm going to do that 4 times so that I have the holes appropriately set for pulling the cable to flex my fingers. So in order to do that, I'm going to draw a little square over here. I'm going to go to my isometric view, and I'm going to give this some depth. And I'm going to draw a little circle right on this face here. And this circle is going to represent the size of the hole I want to cut out of my object. Now, your hole doesn't need to be very big because we're simply running a thread or a small piece of string through it. So I'm going to leave that piece, and I'm going to push-pull it so that it is longer than